Welcome. I'd like to call to order the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee meeting of April 8th, 2021 at 11:03. With that, I'd like to welcome Warren Zimmerman, James, is it Carrier?
Close. Carrere.
Carrere, thank you. And John Moist, welcome. This is, we've wanted a full house and it's great to have it. So welcome everyone. Even though most of us know each other, maybe we could have just a little brief couple-minute bio by the new people coming on. John, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, I'm John Moist. I'm the general manager for Arabella's Landing Marina, and we've got a couple of guest suites that we rent out. We manage them ourselves. And it's nice to see Sue again. Sue and Warren and I were on the LTAC committee how many years ago? A long time ago. So it's just nice to be back.
Great, thank you. Warren?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. I'm Warren Zimmerman. I'm the President and CEO of the Gig Harbor Chamber of Commerce. I have been a member of this committee in the past, and I took a hiatus for a few years, and I'm happy to be back and hopefully can be a good contributor to the committee.
Great, thank you. James?
Hi, folks. Happy to be here. James Carrere. I'm an account executive for a firm called Vacasa. We have a handful of properties that we manage in Gig Harbor. We're growing rapidly, so I envision that there will be more to come. I cover additional territory as well. I was working with a gal named Pat Lance of late, who knows somebody here named Jenny Wellman, who she's quite fond of. Hello. She wanted me to say hi, and yeah, I'm looking forward to working together here, folks.
Great, thank you. And then just, maybe James, you don't know each person, so this is kind of we'll wrap up or be able to do the roll call by doing this. Josh Stecker works, he's our assistant clerk at the city and helps us with a lot of our meetings. And then Janae, do you want to mention, this is kind of, do you want a roll call, mention?
I'm Janae Matan. I'm a co-owner of the Maritime Inn, downtown Gig Harbor.
Great, great. Mary?
Hi, I'm Mary Damaris, Gig Harbor Downtown Waterfront Alliance Executive Director.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Stephanie Lyle, the director and curator at the Harbor History Museum.
Thank you. Jenny?
Jenny Wellman. I am the former executive director of the Gig Harbor Film Festival and am currently working on some other nonprofit things. So I'm here representing the film festival.
Thank you. And Sue?
Good morning. I'm Sue Brayton, the owner operator of the Best Western Wesleyan here in Gig Harbor.
Great. So we have collectors, receivers, and then I chair this, but basically it's falls under Laura's department. Laura is our head of our tourism, communications, and
you may be a little bit more familiar with me just based on our communications, but I handle the marketing essentially for our tourism across the city and all of our communications outreach campaigns and policies.
Thank you. I believe that everyone's had a chance to look at the minutes from February 11th. We sent them out yesterday. Any corrections that anyone might have? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Yeah.
Go ahead. For the recorder, someone's got to, Josh needs to know who did it.
This is Warren. I move that we approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Jenny seconds. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Great. Minutes pass. And then back to our agenda. Now, with that, as a chair, I do get a vote on things to overall overview. With this, I will turn it over to Laura.
So much. I'm going to take us into, Josh, if it's possible to share my screen for just a moment.
Yep, you should have full capability. Just a little green box at the bottom. Yeah.
All right.
And Laura, I'll just note while I have you that Charlie, Glock, Jackson, and Mike Gomming are in attendance. So when their turn comes up to review their applications, let me know and I'll give them access to speak. Wonderful. And just before I go into this as well, I know we have presenters from everyone but Kennerwood, the Golf Association. So we should have a full panel. There is, I believe I need to text the person for the Narrows Challenge when they're up, but we should have input from all. All right, let me know when you can view my screen.
We see it.
Wonderful. So the challenge we've had in this past year is that a visitor's guide is essentially not as far reaching as it has been in the past, and the cost and the advertisers that are usually underwriting that production are not as supportive as they have been in the past, which is completely understandable with this past year. What we've done in light of that is create a digital visitors guide with a more interactive calendar. I've been reaching out like we have in years past to all of our vendors, partners, everyone with past events to find out where they are on rescheduling, if it's a digital event that's happening this year in place, or if it's, if they're holding off till 2022. I want that information in one place so people can check, see what their favorite events are, which of their favorite events are happening and which are postponed, or if there is something that's, shifted to a new date and time. So we've created the digital visitors guide as a website. It will have all the information that we've had in the past in our guides in a digital format. This will be the landing site for all of our digital advertising campaigns. So for example, if we put together a meeting specific campaign package, we're going to have something that looks like this, where we pop up, and this is a template, so it's not entirely done yet, but we'll have a few options for, I'm sorry, that went a little too fast. Sorry, I'm on two screens here. I'm going to X that out. That's a little easier. Here we go. Realize that's not easier. I don't have a mouse. Let's try this. There we go. So we can scroll up. A number of packages that will look a little bit like, let's see, if we're doing for example, if we're doing something that looks like, a package that's just over encouraging a weekend stay or encouraging our downtime, we'll have something like this that's a landing page where people can go in, look at the properties that we have, click through to book, and it'll take you through to the Inagig Harbor's booking site or the Inagig Harbor or the Best Western's booking site. So at least we'll have a measurable pixel in this website that will show us where the lead is coming from and if they've progressed to your end site. And that'll be a great way to measure the efficacy of our digital marketing campaigns. So I've also included a little bit of the other, outside of our traditional hotels, the other options for stays. So we've got something like the Fleet Suites, the Boatyard. We've got the Lighthouse via VRBO. So it gives a little bit of a greater idea of things that people can book out of the norm. That are still contributors to our LTAC funds. And of course, we lead with our 3 traditional hotels. So that's what that'll look like. I'm in the beginning stages of it. Well, I don't want to say beginning. I built out all the framework. I've contacted most of our event people from our past calendar of events. We're putting together the articles and that'll be just a really a more visually presentable way to go about what you can find, where you can go and track where people are interested in, what they're clicking through. We're also working on a blog for this site. And I want to pull this up, what to do. So an event calendar that's a little bit more interactive. So if I go to this events, festivals, and what to see around town page, I can go click into a specific month, see what events have happened, what events are not happening. And that's pulling in a little bit incorrectly. Paddler's Cup will say, okay, this is happening in September this year. And that's the general idea there. I'm still working on how the calendar works, but I'd like to have what's happening this week pull up on our main site. And that's in the works right now. That's just a brief overview of where we're at. What this really helps us with is having a landing site for all of our digital marketing campaigns. So further information and ways to book, ways to click through, and having a centralized area for people to get through to book rooms, book stays, or request an RFP, or for meetings or events. What I would like to add in, and what I'll be working on just a little bit further, is kind of a grid of all of our available meeting space throughout the city, so that there's a clear idea for meeting planners when we start to go out to the meetings, incentives, and corporate groups. Any questions?
Laura, what will the URL be for that?
Likely visit gigharbor.com.
Okay.
And then there will also be a link on the current Gig Harbor guide page as well. Sue, I know you'd mentioned you were concerned that the calendar of events wasn't filling up. No one submitted. We used to have a lot of people come in.
Yeah, and I don't know that people submitted. It was more, I think they reached out, right? It just looked, when I went there,
it's empty. Yeah.
So depressing. It's so slow. So that was my question. Is that going to be replacing, this is going to be replacing that? You'll still have the city site. People will go there and then it'll drive them to this one, or?
Yeah, so it'll be available in two different ways. First, the Visit Gig Harbor URL, which is direct, which I'd like to start publicizing a little bit more intensely. And then if you do visit Gig Harbor Guide, that'll redirect you here. So eventually I think it would be appropriate to meld the two and maybe phase out Gig Harbor Guide and just have that existing as a URL. If people type it in, they are directed to the current site. The site is a lot more manageable, and it's easier to play with information. So for example, I think it's really crucial for people who are visiting the site to see what's going on in town this week. I also envision it as just a resource for the community. There's a larger way to view content here. So I think that's appropriate. And I'm trying to get away from maybe some of the sandwich deals that we've been putting out on our calendar, and maybe have them be more substantial events that people can access. So,
And then from my perspective, the meetings section would be a huge one. What meeting room space is, that's huge for us. So getting that up and on there would be great. So thank you.
Absolutely. I agree.
Laura,
and then we'll go ahead.
Do we have a count on how many rooms are actually available for your target market for these conferences?
No. And that's going to be an interesting point too. I'm putting together a few different ideas, and I'll reach out to everyone with how our digital marketing might go for this. But for example, we could have people rent out 3 Airbnbs and host 15 people and do, a private dinner for a board of directors, or we could have a full-on 200-person, regional conference or a training held at the Best Western. So I think we've got a lot of, we can also work in tandem with hotels for rooming lists and things like that. So I don't know our total number. I think that would probably depend on our Airbnbs as well, as to like if someone did an entire city buyout. But first and foremost, I want to get that meeting space in there so people know that there's what their options are here in town.
Laura, do you plan on updating this on a fairly regular basis?
Daily.
Daily.
Oh yeah.
And how will you entertain those updates?
When we have the coordinator position on, and please note too, since we've been down our 0.6 person for a year now, things have moved just a wee bit slower, but that person will be in charge of a lot of those updates and that content building.
So anybody can email or phone in, or however that communication takes place.
Absolutely.
With ideas or whatever.
So there'll be a link on the site, submit your event here or submit details here. And then as I go through this and reach out to everybody, I'm just going to also put together this email list of everyone I'm reaching out to and just have regular calls for info, because I know a lot of people get mired in the details and they don't think about reaching out. So we'll also reach out to them.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
It's not a question, but I've got some data that I can provide regarding the short-term rentals in the city. So I'll send that your way.
Great, thank you. Wonderful.
No problem.
I appreciate it. And then James, I know we talked earlier this week, I asked you for a few good rentals to include on that page as well. And I will upload those as we go too.
No worries. No worries. I sent those your way via email.
Thank you.
Okay,
and of course, all of this is based on what phase COVID phase we're in, and percentage of room use and so forth.
Right, absolutely, and that'll be adjusted. I think putting out the standard max right now is helpful. We can always add or detract something based on the phase. Saying, please note, 25% of occupancy applies to blah, blah, blah.
So you don't want input that factors those percentages in. You just want to know what the maximum occupancy is for any given.
Right, and then we can put in a disclaimer on that as things change as quickly as they do.
Okay.
Great, thanks, Laura. Okay. So
can I make a quick request for John Moist and James? If you could send the information about your accommodations to the whole group. I mean, like we just redid our website and we're adding some of that information. I would like to make sure that that's included in the museum website in the visit section. So any information that you have about accommodations that you're providing, because we'll also link to the Gig Harbor guide or visit Gig Harbor, but I just wanted to make sure that we had that information. And
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
That's great. And actually, why don't you send that to everyone? Because one thing I know, when I had a store, when we had a bad check, we called maybe the person right next door. When someone was shoplifting, we called right down the street. So, we're better as a team. And so let's say Sue finds out something that's going to, hurt all of us, she can send out an email to someone else. And so it's good for everyone to, competition is good. It's healthy, but so we can work together. Great. So with that, let's go on, Laura, with LTAC Spring 2021 application review packets. Now, one thing,
event.
Yeah. Well, now, even though we want to promote Gig Harbor, these things don't have to be, we double check, they don't have to be in Gig Harbor, but they need to be a Gig Harbor area that basically would still bring in tourism to our hotels and to our city. So we wanted to check on that with a few of the applications. So with that, go ahead, Laura.
Indeed. So first up, we have the Kennerwood Ladies Golf Association. And the name of the event is the Washington State Women's Golf Association State Championship Tournament. That would be happening at Kennerwood. And I believe she may have reached out to a few people already.
Are you going to be able to share that? Are you going to be able to put the applications up on the screen for everyone to view?
Absolutely. Here we go. Everyone view that?
Is it possible to do a full page?
I can. Does that work?
We just have to know how to, well, now it's smaller. Yeah. Let's go back the way, maybe in the middle.
I'll scroll.
Okay.
As much as I can as we roll through it.
Great.
So she's applied under a destination marketing organization, which is not accurate, but this is the marketing and operation of a special event and festival designed to attract tourists to it.
And if people want to be able to just raise your hand, the little hand button, if you have questions, and as Laura reads it, then I'll be able to, call on you for Laura to answer the question. Yes, Ginny.
Great.
So my question on this one is, they're applying under marketing and operations of a nonprofit organization, and yet I don't see any indication that they actually are a nonprofit organization. So I'm wondering if that might need to be in a different area. Or do we know if they are a nonprofit?
I don't.
Okay.
I know, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think they're for profit at all. I know they have a very small budget. Initially, when we had talked about any amount from the top of the application here. We can see that they are applying for $10,000.
Where's the date, Laura, of the event?
Scroll down just a little bit here. That's July 26th, 27th, and 28th of 2021.
And it does say on our application they have to be a nonprofit, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, it does. That was the one question I had when reviewing this. I mean, I think it's a great event. I just didn't know if it fit within this parameter.
I agree. I'm happy to reach out and ask for more information. Catherine is the one attendee or applicant that was not able to join us today.
Are we expecting to finalize these today? I know I have a short window to be on. So are we expecting to go through all of them today and to make decisions? That's was my question back.
We are. We scheduled a 2-hour meeting for that, partially because of the time frame of the people wanting to use these grants starting in spring, and actually to take this to council, I believe on April 26th.
Okay, the agenda just says till 12. That's why I wrote back to Laura this morning. Hey,
my apologies. I forgot to put that on the agenda that we are doing a longer extended meeting today.
I know I can't be because we're reprogramming all the room blocks today. So anyway, yeah.
Try to get through the most that we can here with you.
But we can't really vote on this one if we don't know if it's a nonprofit, right?
Well,
correct.
If that was a determination, then no, we can't. We could vote on it. If there's criteria that people want to vote it, let's just say down, regardless of that, then it could be voted on. Or if they want to vote yes, with the reassurance that they're a nonprofit. So in some ways, it could be voted on.
What if somebody gives, just breaks away from the meeting for a minute, gives this person a call, and then we come back to it?
No, I asked that. She's not available at this time. She's got something else happening. So she asked me to email her questions, and I'm going to go ahead and do that while we're on here.
Josh, could you Google this name and see if there's a way you find out if it's a nonprofit by Googling it?
I can try to look them up, but
so you guys know I'm doing that right now. So
okay.
Good job.
For-profit or nonprofit is not a qualification for LTAC grants. For-profit groups can apply for LTAC grants and they can be awarded. We don't have a policy that prevents that. So it's up to the discretion of LTAC. We do not.
That. Well, we discussed that as a committee, I think. So
there was many times that we couldn't award any money to Tom, the boat, because he wasn't a nonprofit. So, and that was based on.
Tom's never applied for money.
Right, but you told us way back that, as far as I know, that you had to be a nonprofit.
You have to be eligible to apply for money, and Tom has never approached us about having any need for that.
But the committee discussed that they had to be nonprofit. I mean, if we went back in some minutes, I guess we could find out. But that was my understanding. I think that's what Jenny's saying too, from those of us that have been on a while. So
I would agree with you, Sue.
Or not.
I think that if we do find out that it is a nonprofit, I don't have a problem. I think giving them some money is a good idea, because if you read in there how many heads and beds they will put in, or at least are planning to, I think it's an event that will bring in people from out of town.
Yeah, so it's great though. Just let me say that's if it's a Saturday, Sunday, I didn't look at the calendar. That's all. Remember, we kind of want to promote off season as much as we can too. And that is July, August, our busiest month. So I'm just putting that out there too. We keep that in mind as we're looking at these for us. Okay?
So I will say the Washington State Women's Golf Association is a nonprofit. So that might be appropriate.
There is no entry in the IRS charity database for the Kennerwood Ladies Golf Association or just the Ladies Golf Association, but the larger tournament, as Laura says, is nonprofit. Okay. The one question I did have about this in her budget narrative, she said, well, we're hoping for 20,000, but our budget's 10.5. So I also think we have to look at the percentage that people are asking for particular events and that sort of thing. So I think, while I think this is a great event, and I think it's wonderful that we're getting to host that here, I think there's some issues with the grant program in particular that we may have to address.
Okay.
We've been working with them, and the tournament itself is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they are really working on reaching out to the participants to come early. I know that I have 2 businesses downtown. One is offering a morning event on Sunday, and the other is offering an evening event, with the hopes of them spending all of Sunday in between those 2 events downtown shopping and dining. So their goal was to get people into the community for sure, and hoping for longer, having them come Saturday or Sunday.
And do we know if these people are coming per day or if they're going to plan on, staying the night?
I think they anticipate they'll be spending the night.
Okay.
So I have something to bring up here from the application as well. What will you from your proposal or do differently if your full funding request is not available or recommended? The trophy and tea prizes budget and food and alcohol budget would be reduced. This is the first time the Kennerwood Ladies Golf Club is hosting this major championship. We want to wow and entertain our guests in style. A great deal of these items are purchased from local businesses offering the very best meals, lunches, and one sit-down dinner that are a chef that we know can be prepared. I don't necessarily think food and alcohol budget, it falls under, or prizes for the event would necessarily attract tourism. If this is regarding the marketing or the function of the event, I can understand that. But my concern there is just, if this is going toward drinks and appetizers, I'm not sure if that necessarily
Let's
works.
just decide to say no to this one.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said, let's just say no to this one.
Have to take a.
Okay. So do you want to, with that comment, do you want to go through the applications and then vote on each one, or do you want to vote as we go along?
I think we should vote as we go along.
I would wait, and I would just really rather wait because we only have 50,000.
Right, and then see how much we can give to each one. We might be able to give a smaller amount to more versus what they're asking for. Right.
Okay, I agree with that. The last thing we want to do is have $10,000 unspent. So let's go through them all, and that way I'm going to start adding up what the total ask is.
I've already done that. It's about $78,000. Am I right, Stephanie?
I got 68, but
okay. I was doing it in my head, and that tells you what a great accountant I'm in. I am.
Well, you know, you're close.
So 68, not 78. So,
well, and to be fair though, one of them requested 20,000 at the top of the application, but the budget was for 10.5. So okay. I only put them into the spreadsheet for 10.5. So your numbers would be correct.
Okay. Yeah. All right, I don't feel so bad.
That's definitely double dipping.
Yeah.
Can we just quickly look at their overall budget?
They don't have one.
Scroll down, Laura, please.
That was it. That's all that's been submitted.
So they didn't. Is there not an overall budget somewhere that Stephanie was referring to?
Oh, no.
Well, that's depressing. I mean, not depressing, but that's important.
Yeah, I think we need to know that.
Yeah, that makes it weak to me.
Yeah, if you scroll up, the only budget information is in the narrative.
Okay.
And that's where it says we're hoping for 20,000, but our actual budget's 10.5, but there is no itemized budget.
Okay. All right, so let's go on to the next, and then we'll come back.
Greater Gig Harbor Foundation is our next application, and this is for the 2021 Great Peninsula Cider Festival, or the Cider Swag. And they're applying as marketing and operations of special events designed to attract tourists by a nonprofit organization, applying correctly under the nonprofit headline. And they have included their application supplemental questions, nonprofit registration, W-9, and itemized budget.
It said that they included their W-9, but I didn't find it in there. So
my only comment on this one is that it seems that this is more of a community event with community attending rather than out of town guests coming to this. I think this is a great nonprofit, so I don't feel bad to give them some money, but maybe not the full amount, is my opinion.
Well, I got to ask is 5,000.
Yeah, and if you look at their total budget, it's not a very large portion. It's only, I did all these numbers, 15% of their event budget is represented by that 5,000. So that's not a very high percentage, whereas other asks have been in the 50 to 100% category.
And we have Julie Gustanci here to present to and answer questions. And I believe she's got a raised hand right now.
Okay, go ahead, Julie.
I think we have to upgrade her to a panelist in order to have her.
She's coming online, hold on.
Thank you, Josh.
Hi, Julie, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I just, since this, Janae had a question or about who attends the Cider Festival, the Cider Swig. We did include some statistics based on history, and we actually, a minority of the attendees are actually from the community. So we have pretty good statistics from the past 7 years showing where our ticket purchases come from. And it's in there somewhere.
It is. Yeah, it's a very well done grant application.
Yes, it is.
Julie, this is Sue Brayton. Can I just ask you where you got your numbers for overnight stays?
It's based on our historical knowledge of who's staying and where people are coming from, and where, including the cider vendors themselves, some of whom are traveling at least 6 or so hours away.
A while. I don't remember ever having somebody from the Cider Fest stay at this property. I'm not saying they haven't stayed elsewhere, but we're pretty familiar with, you know, what groups bring rooms in. So I just was wondering where you got your information from, the guests, from the attendees, or
from the attendees, from the guests, yeah, from the vendors themselves.
I don't think we've ever done a rate for them or anything. Have you promoted rates at the properties?
No, we haven't. No, and this is the first year that we've thought, well, we really should do more to, since we know people are staying here. And this year we're also doing the event in 2 different times. We're doing a July and a September event, and so. We're not exactly sure where things will be in the July timeframe. So that event is planned more as a 2-day festival, different than the large single-day event. But yeah, so we're planning for July 10th and 11th, and that will be at Uptown, and then this last Saturday in September.
Okay, great. Yes, Ginny. Yes, Ginny, did you have a question for Julie?
I'm sorry. Is it the last Saturday in September or October?
No, it's always the last Saturday in September, which aligns with National Public Lands Day, which was basically how the event got started. The funding from this event goes to support the Lou Windsor Environmental Grant Program. So we tied the event to National Public Lands Day. So we always have a work parties in the area parks prior to the event.
So where's the September event being held?
It will be again at Uptown, and there's also a possibility that we will be doing a second day, which will be over in Tacoma. The event has grown enormously over the years, and we know from the last, full-on event that we could do pre-pandemic that we brought in over 4,000 people just for the one-day event.
I know it's been a popular event, and I think that's really great. The one thing I'm concerned about is if it's at Uptown, that's the same weekend as the Gig Harbor Film Festival.
Yes, we're working with Paula and John on how to marry everything up.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
So the money that you're making, you're actually then putting it back into an environmental grant, an environmental fund.
Correct. Yeah, that's always been the case. I mean, pretty much every event that the foundation does goes back into the community one way or the other.
Great. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Any other questions for Julie? Okay. All right, great. So more than welcome to stay on, Julie. Let's go on to the next grant unless there's an objection with other questions.
Thank you, Julie.
Can I just say maybe we shouldn't keep people on? Is that appropriate when we're looking at other people's?
I really just meant she could stay on, not to speak, but yeah, just to stay on.
I think all of our attendees can listen since this is an open public meeting.
Right.
Okay.
So up next, we have our Harbor History Museum, Museum Marketing and 10th Anniversary of History Rocks. And for that, we have our own Stephanie Lyle to answer questions. So both for marketing and operations of special events and operations of tourism related facilities owned or operated by nonprofit organizations falls under both nonprofit museum. And we've got all 4 categories for our application packet. So we've got our estimated numbers of attendance, people who will travel more than 50 miles, people staying overnight. Yes, yes. for the same event. And you're open during COVID-19, following restrictions, and more than half of your visitors still have been from out of town on day trips. Is there anything, Stephanie, that you would like to add or talk us through your application?
Yeah, sure. I think that one of the things, it's really, really hard for us to estimate how many people actually stay overnight when they come to Gig Harbor, although anecdotally, we do get a lot of people that say that, you know, we're visiting, we're on a day trip, or it's our anniversary and we thought we'd go somewhere close by, but we love it here. So we came down and stayed overnight. And so, you know, there's not a lot of super strong data on that front. But that said, we do serve a lot of out-of-town visitors, and every visitor supplies their zip code so that we do daily zip code tracking. So we do know where people are coming from that are visiting the museum. So this application takes into account our entire budget for the year, as well as event budget for History Rocks. But the predominant goal of the application is to produce marketing materials, both digital and print, and actually buy advertising in some cases, so that we're promoting both the museum but also Gig Harbor. And I do think it's important to note that throughout Washington State, we have a advocacy group that does a lot of marketing research on museums in particular. And they have ascertained that museum visitors in general spend approximately $32 per visitor. So that's actually that's a return to the local economy, whether shops, food, dining, parking, buying booze, whatever they're doing. So there's a lot of benefits to having people come to the museum and just supporting overall marketing materials. And these would, of course, align with our new website that was funded last year. So it's great to be able to continue building that presence and that branded mark. So
I have two questions. One, so this is a one-day event?
Oh no, this is all year. So marketing materials for the entire year for the entire museum. So this is the one-day event is History Rocks, and there's as part of the $20,000 ask, there's a $5,000 sponsorship for the History Rocks event in that budget as well.
Okay. Any other questions for Stephanie?
Stephanie, did you not get in on the last round? Is that why you're on this one? I couldn't remember.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then I know last year was very different, but were we going to require past recipients to, when is that paperwork from what they did with that money due?
It's already been submitted.
Yeah.
So, but we didn't get to see it, correct? Or Laura, someone?
I have those for documentation purposes saved, yes.
Okay, so maybe going forward, for me, I would like to see, those before we make decisions. Obviously we can't if we're trying to do this today, but I don't know if I need to make a motion on that, but I would think that we all need to look at that, before we make decisions on reoccurring ones in the future. Okay.
Yeah, just one section. I would agree because we talked about that, Sue,
yeah.
And so we wanted, because there was some flexibility, so we wanted to make sure that if they didn't spend it the same way, we wanted to know why and where it went to.
Sure.
So,
sure.
Laura,
okay.
do you have, without diving into that past one, do you know that it was spent for? Can you tell us if it was spent for the last grant? What it was? If it was spent for what was applied for?
It was.
It was, yeah.
Okay. Yes. So that was their big website redesign for last year. And I've seen the upcoming version of the website that they have emerging. And obviously that made much more sense during COVID to renovate the website and have something digital to show for visitors. So, and I believe, Stephanie, when does your website launch to the public?
Well, it's actually available right now if anyone wants to take a look at it. It's just gigharborhistory.org. And then ultimately, we kind of have dual sites right now because we're in the process of porting over certain bits of content that are a little more complicated, like our collections collections and image databases. So you can both go to harborhistory.org and that, or harborhistorymuseum.org, and that will eventually point to the new site. And so both URLs will actually get you there. But right now we have 2 sites up, but the site that was built with the funds from last year, that's still being slightly tweaked. We're still working out the bugs on the event calendar, but that's available at gigharborhistory.org.
Thank you. Ginny.
I just had a really, really quick observation, and along both of these lines is, Stephanie said that, it is hard for us, as nonprofits to get really good data on who is staying and who's going to what. I think that's a difficult thing. And we've talked about ways of getting that data. Laura, with your new tool that you have, which I think would be really, really useful to the nonprofits so that we can actually try to get a better idea of that. So that's one side of it, so that we can get more accurate application data when we're trying to decide, is this really a tourism thing? But the second thing is that I do think we need to come up with a more, a process where this committee can see the benefit of the money that we're putting out. I think it would be nice to have not just reporting back to the city that, yeah, I did spend it the way it was, but, a reporting back to say, yes, this was the benefit. So that's just a general observation.
Those are metrics that we've set up this year that will be applicable for next year's review. But yeah.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
And obviously with this past year being what it was, things are quite different. So I don't know if this past year's metrics are the most fair to judge upon. Right. Especially when it comes down to site or swag, which couldn't happen, or the museum website, which, while wonderful, are we going to see a large number of overnights if people are limited to day travel right now? So those metrics are really kind of fluid for this year in a different situation, but I agree that that's something that we'd like to do going forward.
Maybe the committee could develop a questionnaire that we send out to people that, to organizations that we fund, that they fill out after the event. Like how many of your folks stayed overnight, and an after action of the event, something like that. But for us to ask the questions so that we get the response back that we need to do the planning, that this committee is supposed to do.
So Laura, would you put that on the agenda for the next meeting? I think that's a great idea.
Do we already have that? Is that under my impression, and Josh, maybe you can confirm this, is part of what we ask of people when they have to do their reporting by December 30th.
Yeah, that's state law. That's what we get in our reports from each organization when they send in their report. So that's already covered.
If we're getting it, then it would be really nice for this committee to be able to see it, I think.
But Josh, does that mean we have something that the groups could actually hand out at their events to get filled out? That's what he's talking about.
Their method for collecting that data is up to them to do.
Right.
So, and then we also have our geofencing that is actually a more accurate measure rather than asking people to self-report. But with this past year, those numbers probably aren't going to be accurate for specific events.
We're hoping this year's been an anomaly. This past year has been an anomaly. So, we're talking about moving forward.
Indeed.
I mean, I just scanned the Washington State RCW for LTAC funds and distribution of funds, and back to the Kennerwood golf tournament. It says you can't use funds for gifts or prizes, and they're talking about. I think they were talking about prizes in their budget or just budget description. They didn't have it broken down, and I'm wondering whether alcohol qualifies. So I think probably it's not for this committee right today because we've got a lot to do, but I think put it on the agenda to really kind of go over, you know, what the rules are for us and for anyone that applies for these funds, and that we send that out to them so that they're sure that they meet all the requirements. And I couldn't find anything about profits versus nonprofits either.
Thank you, John. Stephanie.
I just wanted to say that I think it could be helpful to, we put a lot of onus on the applicants to collect data, which in some cases is almost an invasion of privacy, you know, to be honest, when from our side of things. But if there was a way to put a survey in hotel rooms, that could actually be really helpful. And, you know, other accommodations. So if, you know, it's sort of like it's on the desk when someone walks in, you know, how did you find out about us? Are you here for a special event or something like that, that could come out of this committee? I think that could actually provide really hard data that is a lot better than, you know, the only other way I can collect that data is literally to do a sub-survey of every single visitor to see, you know, in a certain time frame to see whether they actually stayed overnight or not. And that has to be a permission granted survey where they say, I will provide that information. So I just think this idea that all of these funds have to generate overnight stays is data that is very difficult to collect unless it's on the actual motel or hotel or vacation rental side. So,
and I can tell you, Stephanie, and we have always, when we're on the phone with them, what brings you to the area? Because that's how you sell a room. That's how you free when they check in. That's part of our standard. What brings you here? You know, we want to know what, then we help them. Are they coming to see family? Are they coming to an event? Great. That's why we kind of know, and I know Janae's people would know too, in the inn as well. We kind of know, you know, what is going on. So that's standard for us. We don't have it in writing, but that's what I'm talking about. So
Sue, that information is great. But it would be really wonderful if it could get disseminated back to the organizations. And, you know,
I will, just coming from a hotel background and, you know, working in-house and trying to do that with organizations like Four Seasons or destination hotels. And Sue, maybe you can speak to this a little further. That information that you collect is generally protected and it's not something that you can share, which is why we went with our geofencing service, which will show and correlate a graph in spike in attendance at our hotels, as well as the destinations that they're going to. So if we have a large event in Scansey Park and we can see a correlation of people, you know, going to hotels and going to Scansey Park, then we can say, yes, that is something that we can say is correlated and that we can drive a result from. So that's the general purpose of the C-Sound service.
I have organized many events in my lifetime, and anything that would proffer an overnight stay. I mean, I always went to hotels and booked or blocked off, you know, X number of rooms based on my anticipated participation. And it was very easy to determine how many people spent the night.
Okay.
I mean, when we look at something like the Cider Swig, if we have
the film
like
festival, we always know because we've had blocks of rooms. So anyway, let's keep her moving, I guess.
Sure. And I think for leisure travels, it can be a little bit different as well because not all people book within a block. And if we're looking at, you know, people booking vacation rentals as well, that's going to be different.
Well, for the golf tournament, though, we should be able to determine that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Any other questions for Stephanie before we move on to the next one? Okay. The next one is it North America by Music, United by Music North America?
I believe we have Barbara joining us for that. So we might need to take a look at our attendees. And thank you, Stephanie, for a full application.
Yes, we have, Barbara was, yeah.
Oh, Carlene is there. So
Okay.
Carlene will be answering questions.
Why don't we go over it before we ask the person to go to comment on theirs? So we've got 9,750 is the request.
United by Music North America for Make Music Day, Fest for All. Applied under the marketing and operations of special events. Applied as a nonprofit, all correct, and including the 4 items need, and that's by Barbara Hammerman. So this is Fest for All, Summer Solstice, June 21st, 2021. And then 2 other events, which is United by Music USA Concert and Workshop happening from October 2nd to 3rd, 2021. And then during the Disability Employment Awareness Month of October, festivities will be happening during October 2021. So these events will both be will be operating on both sites in Gig Harbor, plus virtually. Tourism is promoted by people coming to the events in town and being cultivated through virtual presentations and performances to want to come to Gig Harbor in the future. 2 events in different seasons provide opportunity to build awareness of summer and fall activities, and will be included on the Fest for All United by Music map. So this is proposed for Skansie and Donkey Parks and the Uptown Shopping Stage. And I do know we are working on permitting right now. There is a permit in for Skansie Park. I do not know if there's a permit in for Donkey Park right now.
Laura, was that date June 21st? So that doesn't interfere with the city's music in the park? June 21st. Okay, that's a Monday. Okay.
And we stop ours in end of August.
Oh, this is June though. This is the June 21st, summer solstice. So we won't actually start our concerts this year until July 13th.
Oh, okay.
So we have United by Music North America as an inclusive band. And it's a well-known worldwide event, which Gig Harbor has not hosted in the past. All right. Number of people who will travel more than 50 miles, 2 hours away, 100. And an estimated number of 50 paid lodging rooms.
So one observation is, did the LTAC group get these applications ahead of time before today to look at?
Yeah, I sent those out yesterday.
Good, okay.
So in this, the methodology for the number of room nights that would produce is based on their past music days and their Washington State Fair day-long event. Okay. Do we have Barbara with us to answer any questions?
We do.
Okay.
One question. Do we know what the total, does it show what the total cost of the whole thing is?
Their total budget, let's scroll, represents 50%. Their ask represents 50% of their budget. So it looks like their projected overall budget for June and October is $19,500.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Barbara, would you like to comment on your grant application?
I'd be delighted. Thank you so much, everybody. Excited to be with you and see you at least on Zoom. Thank you so much for entertaining this grant. We're really excited about being able to include Gig Harbor in the International Make Music Day festivities. It's a worldwide celebration, has about 1,000 cities right now over the years. And we will be only the 4th location in Washington State. There's Seattle, Snohomish, Federal Way has a small one, and we feel Gig Harbor is uniquely situated to really benefit from this. We participated in it. This will be our 8th year, the United by Music North America band, and producing with other cities, Portland, a couple of years during this virtual time, a little bit of advice with Federal Way and producing there. But we're on a national committee through the Make Music Alliance to bring music to various communities. And what I'm really excited about in bringing this to Gig Harbor is that this is a way to, especially for the lodging and tax grant, it's a way to bring people to Gig Harbor, both in person and virtually. There's some very robust programs that are out there for us to include ourselves in nationally. And what we know, all of you know better than I, what we know is that people get their information in various ways. And to bring awareness to and participation in with our merchants and with our community, there's a foot on the ground in bringing dollars that day. And then there's the exposure that we get from broadcasting. And that's a key part of these activities, is to bring people in both in person and stay, as well as enjoy our restaurants and then be kind of exposed to an experience that they can come back for later. This is designed as a 2-season event. We start and kick off on the summer solstice, which is the International Day. And then in October, we bring that same concept to Gig Harbor and expand upon it so that we can bring people back together, hopefully in a broader, more attendance day. But we feel that that's a way to also be very inclusive with access points for those who don't typically have access to music. It's a day to make music, bringing people together. It's really a great unifier. We know people are itching to get out and travel. And this is a close place for many people to come, a destination place for others. And we're excited to bring it to Gig Harbor. And I'm happy to talk about any details that you might have a question about.
Thank you. Any questions for Barbara?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I know that there's a lot of discussion about Pierce County going back to phase 2, and this is it's an upcoming event, early in June or later in June, but sort of sooner than some of the other events. And I'm just curious, like, how have you been dealing with like the COVID requirements for safe gathering and music making for the musicians? Because I know that's been a real challenge for a lot of musical groups.
That's true. That's true. I welcome the question. First, it's a very scalable event. We intend it to be that way. Abiding by all the regulations and beyond is where our mindset has been. Specifically to United by Music North America, we rehearse at least once a week, sometimes twice a week in 2 states, possibly 5, depending on what the situation is. During this last year, as of this date, we have not missed more than 2 rehearsals the entire time. And we've done it by Zoom, of course, primarily. There have been very few in-person gatherings. All have been distanced, all have been masked. We intend to carry that forward, and we're very adjustable. That's the beauty of this particular project, is that it's designed nationally with great support, with PSAs and all kinds of events that we can dovetail into that can create pods of people in their homes, pods of people in their backyards, local parks if they can get out in small groups. And we are able to be very nimble in putting people together in a safe way. It's our goal as well.
Thank you.
Sure.
That's great. And I know I've seen many of the Zooms that they've already done that actually had a lot of people attend. So it actually is one of the things that
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And to that point, there are a lot of things that unify people, and not so many more than music. I can envision, the high school bands and children from schools that are music schools, adults that just want to noodle around in their garage. There's a place for everybody. There are formal bands that will play, but also there's a place for everybody to make music. One of the things that we designed and created last year that's been very popular nationally is called pizza box drumming. And so we get pizza boxes, and we lead people in part of our song so that everybody's playing with the band. And it was so much fun. We used a bunch of drum cadets that came out and learned a couple of parts of the song and drumming, and marched around a vacant lot last year in Federal Way so that people could kind of drive by and pick up their food at this restaurant. And it was just a great deal of fun. And we envision that being able to happen here as well. Pizza box drumming. Who wouldn't have fun with that?
Thank you. Any questions from the LTAC group?
I do have one more question. On the scalability side, because you're talking about 3 different sites, if you were not awarded the full amount, how would that affect your event?
Oh, thank you for that. Our interest is to make this first, we see this as a continuing event. We want it to be year to year. We want to put Gig Harbor on the map with this. And so we're very cognizant. We've been producing events for over 20 years in various places. We want this to be a credible, fun event. If it turns out it's one location and we are able to scale our event so that we're bringing in talent that draws people, a solid committee that's organizing it and running it, so that people go away thinking, I had a great time, or I really wish I'd been there, or I'm definitely going to be there next time. So we're prepared for moving that slide rule, whatever way makes sense for all of us to feel really good about it, solid from a safety standpoint and a credibility standpoint for execution of the plan. So, yeah.
Great.
Does that answer your question though?
It does to a degree. I'm just looking at your budget, and you know, there's a space rental fee, and there's you know, the equipment, backline gear, and
right.
You know, having done some events here at the museum and other places, that background, you know, staging, sound equipment, that gets super expensive, especially for multiple sites. And so
you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yes. And of course, let's just, you know, we're proposing this based on our awareness, as you say, and as you know, of what it cost. Mm-hmm. I'm envisioning that we have some donated equipment, some sponsored equipment, so that we can maximize each segment wherever we're needing the money to be utilized. So yes, that's an ongoing interest to maximize all of those areas of expense.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anybody else have anything?
I do. Barbara, thanks for the presentation. So this is an event that you've held at other places, in other locations, correct?
Yes, we have participated in it. There have been organizing committees that have done it. This is the first time we've had a charter that we're bringing to a city. So we've been awarded this charter by the national organization to bring it here. We were not the charter holders in Portland or other cities, but we worked with the organizers there.
I see. So in those other places, is there data in terms of a budget and how much it costs and how they raise the funding for this? Because it seems like it's sort of a model that you would use from one place to the next.
Mm-hmm. I'm certain there is, and I'm sure we could get that if we needed it. With our knowledge of creating events like this, we've used our bank of personal knowledge in producing music events and destination attractions, so that I think this is geared to our budget. For instance, Portland has about 20 sites that they manage now. Their budget would not be applicable to us at this stage, but then they've been doing it for a number of years.
Okay. And one other question is, how else will you raise your money?
Well, we're going to be seeking sponsors, individual donors, maybe some. One of the things that we've been looking at is creating an avenue for people to support the event itself. It's free to the public. We're going to have a donation page that people can contribute to this fund in order to bring the event here. I don't anticipate there'll be that much through that. It's more of an awareness and buy-in. But we have a good team, a good group of people that are on the design team. So I think we're going to be fine. We seek ideas.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Barbara.
We just want to make it happen for the community. So
great. Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, Laura, if you want to go on, any other questions on this applicant by the LTAC or comments? Okay, we'll go on.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. And if you have any follow-up questions, I'm sure Laura can get in touch with me and we'll send the information along right away.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Barbara.
Good one.
Okay,
right.
the next one.
Up next, we have the Gig Harbor Boat Shop, and I believe we have Sharon Bishop here joining us to answer questions. The boat shop is applying for $7,500 in funds, and this is for the Eden Boatyard Tour Program. This is for marketing and operation of special events and festivals designed to attract tourists by nonprofit. Directly apply to nonprofit category, and we have our application and details below. The Gig Harbor Boat Shop is proposing partial funding of the scheduled docent Boatyard Tour Program. The Boatyard Tour Program would include descriptions of the grassroots community endeavor that saves the historic site, the boat shop programs and current projects, and the 100-year history of the historic site. Docents will describe how the community can utilize and access historic components of the site, programming, house and aboard boats, use of the house and deck as a small group gathering place, and use of the park, including the dock and float for water access and passive park use. For all attendants, proposed $5,400 a year. For people who will travel 50 miles, 895. 445 room nights per year. Paid lodging room nights, okay, 670. All right. Interestingly enough, this addresses the question we had earlier. Guests are provided to provide their confirmation, their contact information if they wish. Sharon, thank you for joining us. Do you have anything additional to add on your application?
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to meet you all virtually, and I certainly hope to do it in person very soon. Just letting you know, I'm new to the boat shop. I joined a few weeks ago as the new business manager, and my background is actually in hospitality tourism. So I'm looking forward to working with all of you on the initiative to bring additional visitors to the Gig Harbor community. I just wanted to note that the boat shop closed down in March of last year, and we are actively working to reopen the facility by May 1st. And as part of the COVID guidelines, we had to basically shut down the majority of the programming from, the family boat building program, boat repairs, special events, and veteran tours. A veteran is currently in layup. And so, as a nonprofit, we basically rely on grants and donations to fund the operations. And so we're looking for the LTAC to help supplement a new program that we're going to implement, which is going to be a docent-led tour program. And by doing it this way, we've always been open to the community to have them come through and take a tour. And it's been led by the volunteers who have been on site. However, we want to be able to create an online reservation system through our website in order to allow tracking of visitors, being able to control the amount of people that come in, and also being able to show them work in progress. So we're working with our volunteers right now to put together a scheduling program where they're going to have volunteers on site actively working, and they can see what the boat shop is all about in terms of boat restoration. And the budget itself includes hiring a docent, a dedicated staff person to be able to take somebody through and give them the history of the boat shop. And as part of the program, we also want to just speak to, the historical nature of, the net shed and everything else in the community, and being able to share with them other opportunities to walk down the street to the Harbor History Museum, walk back up through the city as they often do, back to the net shed, and being able to, pull it all together as a community effort. So The expenses that are on the next sheet basically include, you know, the staffing and some marketing and, you know, print materials, things that we will use to attract the tourists. It also includes, you know, partial insurance. We anticipate to run the program May 1st through September 30th, which is the height of the tourist season. And, you know, the city of Gig Harbor would be named as an insured. We intend to rope off areas because being a working facility, we want to make sure both visitors and volunteers remain safe. Also included in the budget is purchase of PPE materials. We haven't had to do that since the boat shop was closed, but now as we're ramping up, we have all of our supplies ready to go. And excuse me. And then also we intend to have the tours available, you know, 5 days a week, about 4 hours a day during opening hours, and being able to, again, schedule them and make sure that, you know, we can keep track of visitorship within the boatyard.
Thank you.
And also, you know, one thing I wanted to mention is, you know, we have the brick house that's currently under development, and we're looking for a soft opening in the fall. We can, as part of our program, speak to what's available within that whole area in terms of the public dock, which is available to kayakers and people who want to launch into the harbor. We'll talk about the brick house, which is going to be available for future event programming. And then also the passive use of the park, which is right nearby.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the LTAC group for Sharon?
I have a question.
Yes.
It's always me.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Great, good to have you here. I do have a logistical question, being a trained tour guide myself. When I ran the numbers against, and this might not have been your intention, but when I did the math, it was about 100 days within that season, the May to September. On average, if I calculated right, it would be about 54 people per day, which seems like a lot. And I don't know if you have certain tour size capacities that you're anticipating or what exactly. And so I'm just kind of curious how you're going to accommodate the groups and what size those tour groups will be within the space.
Yes, and we're currently working through that right now. And that is a good point. Again, there is a notation on our visitorship that these numbers were based on our 2019 visitorship, pulled from multiple sites, from the website, from the store, from people coming through for programming, or people that just want to sign up to get information from us on an ongoing basis. And so again, those numbers are subject to change, particularly as we look to not being able to run our family boat building program right now, and some of the other due to COVID guidelines. And so obviously we are going to follow what the state recommends. I believe we're at, you know, let's see if we look at 5, let me just look at my numbers real quick. If we do 4 hours a day, and each tour would take about an hour, I imagine, once we walk them through the whole facility, and then being able to have just a break in between. We've got 4 hours, 6 people per tour, 6, depending on if they're all from the same household. So yes, you know, those numbers will obviously need to be adjusted based on scheduling and, you know, visitorship.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I wasn't sure if the 5,400 was like the total visitation or if it was what was actually anticipated for the numbers of people participating in the tour. So
yeah, I think it's overall visitorship, because the retail store will also be open, and we're certainly hoping to get a lot more visitors come through the store as they walk through the harbor.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions for Sharon? Okay, thank you, Sharon.
Thank you so much. And just as a reminder, sorry to go back up to the budget, we are only asking for $7,500 here. The program itself is going to cost us just over $13,000. So we really are only asking for, you know, just over half of that. So thank you very much, and we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Okay, Laura, do you want to go on to the next?
Absolutely. There's that budget. Up next, I believe we have the Peninsula Art League.
And after we go through it, we've got a representative of the Art League here.
There we go. All right. So the lodging fund application is requesting $6,000. This is for the open juried art show and art workshop. Carlene Salazar is here to provide commentary, as is Charlie Glock-Jackson. This is an application for marketing and operations of special events and festivals designed to attract tourists by a nonprofit organization, correctly applied for as a nonprofit. And we have our complete application packet below. So this is for October and November 2021. The projected attendance is 1,100, and this would be the $6,000 applied for would be needed to defray the increased cost of venue rental and for additional marketing and promotion to increase attendance in the shoulder season. So that speaks to shoulder season. The open show is known for the high quality art show and the storied exhibition from fine artists across the US and Canada. Most participants come for both the workshop and to see the exhibit. So we are looking at overall attendance of 1,100, 400 people who will travel more than 50 miles or 2 hours away, and 150 paid lodging room nights. Carlene and or Charlie, would you like to say a few words about your application?
Well, first, thank you. Carlene, jump in here anytime that you want, because you're the... I figured out
how to put my face up there for whatever reason.
What your voice is?
Yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and kind of start here, since I know to respect the time frame that we have. We did receive an LTAC grant last year. However, because we had to cancel the show, the in-person show, we turned the money back to the city. So we didn't use your money. Instead, we had a virtual show. We figured out how to do that. And consequently, we really don't know how many visitors we might have had. But we know that this is a very popular show. We partner with the History Museum and have for many years. And which is a wonderful thing. This year, however, our rental charge for the museum has gone up dramatically. And so we've had to increase our budget request to pay for the additional rental space. And this is not to complain about that. I understand exactly why the museum had to up their fee, but we have to somehow make that work. This is a very well-known show. Carlene, I think this is the 16th, 17th year?
18th year.
We draw artists from all over the country, including Canada. We also host a workshop as part of the art show, and the workshop draws participants, a lot from the Puget Sound area, but also many from out of state and out of town.
We have members that come from Alaska. We've had members from Illinois and New York, besides Idaho and California and Oregon and all those places. And they do stay in hotels.
So as has been the discussion among several candidates this year, being able to estimate exactly how many heads and beds we bring is a little bit dicey, but we know that the museum does keep pretty accurate records on where visitors come from. And because our event is going to be at the museum during not a traditionally high tourist season, we kind of rely on them to track our visitors. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one question, which we have to discuss with other grants that we're looking at too. Now, John Moist and Josh, you had mentioned that the LTAC guidelines, we can't fund prizes and gifts. Is that correct, Josh? Because I see, there's other, there's the kayakers and the Kennerwood, and this one has $3,900 of awards.
Those, if I may, Mayor, those awards are not being funded through this grant. They're just shown there as part of our budget.
I'd like to address where we get that money from. All the people who enter the show pay a fee to enter that show. Those fees are what funds the awards for the shows.
Okay, but if you took your entry fees and your workshop, which is income, and you minus it from your expenses of $13,375, your actual expenses are about, which is the same with other people too. We have to check this. Your expenses are actually about just over $6,000.
Our grant that we're applying for specifically would fund the increased rental cost, marketing materials such as posters, newspaper ads, and we're trying something new this year, which worked very successfully for the art festival in the past, which is sponsorships on public radio stations.
Okay. So
none of the LTAC money that we're requesting would be used for refreshments, for a reception, or for prizes or anything like that. It's strictly for marketing and the increased rent of the venue.
Okay, thank you for that clarifying. Are there questions from the LTAC group to Charlie or Charlene?
This is Stephanie. I don't have a question because I'm a big fan of this show. But I did want to just add that in 2019, we had about 1,800 visitors at the museum. So that is the time frame that their open show ran. So that's about 2,000 people that came through the museum and saw the show.
Thank you, Stephanie. That's handy to know.
Yeah.
We're in this together.
That's right. Anytime you need numbers, just let me know.
That's a big help. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? I'm curious of how many of you maybe have been to the show. I don't see any hands. No, Stephanie, I know you have. I know the mayor has.
I've been to the show, John Moist.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, if I ask you how many of you go to sports events, I'll bet there's a whole lot of hands raised. My point is that art is equally as important as sports, and to some people, much more so. Art in all its forms: music, plays, dance, theater, art, visual art. So we welcome you to come to our show this year, and we have our fingers crossed that it will be able to be in person.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charlie.
And we have a backup plan as far as the visitors. If people have to wear masks and things, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be able to offer masks for visitors if they need them.
Yeah, we do that already. So at the museum does, when people walk in the door, if they don't have a mask, they are given one. So
good.
And I would also like to add one more thing. In the past, we have partnered with local lodging facilities to try to develop a kind of maybe like 10% off rate if you're coming to a PAL event. We didn't do that last year, of course, but our hope is that we can do that again this year to somehow partner with the 3 hotels and bed and breakfast and so forth. So if people say they're coming to the PAL show, there might be some PAL rate for the visitors.
One specific thing that I've done with the workshop part of this show is that a lot of the artists that come for the workshop don't know anything about Gig Harbor. And I've always made sure to send them the information about the different hotels and bed and breakfasts and places to stay in the area. And that's been very well received. And I know people who have definitely stayed in those places because of that.
And Laura, incidentally, I love your new website that you're doing that's so interactive. And as you know, we'll rely a lot on your expertise to help us spread the word on this show, as we do with all PAL events.
I'm so glad to hear. And part of our digital marketing campaign is also to promote our event calendar as well. So that a rising tide floats all boats. So.
Charlie, I have one last question, and that is, there's a workshop mentioned in the budget. Could you explain, is that a one-day thing, or what exactly is that workshop?
That workshop is actually a 3-day event, and the people who come here for that workshop, they stay overnight the night before the workshop starts, and often enough stay the night after the workshop's over with, in addition to the nights between.
That's great. Thank you, Carlene.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thanks. We'll see you at the art show.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you both for coming. We're going to move on to our next application, which is from the Narrows Challenge, the Gig Harbor Canoe Kayak Racing Team. I'm going to give a quick text to Alan, who is working but wants to join.
Okay, let's run down the application first, if we may. Laura,
Okay.
you want to run down the application for, yeah.
There you go. So this is a marketing and operations of special events and festivals designed to attract tourists by a nonprofit. And we've got our full application below. So this is for October 16th, 2021 in that shoulder season. This is an open water human powered craft event to be held in the Narrows. There will be many classes: rowing shells, kayaks, outriggers, stand-up paddle boards will make up the bulk of the entries, dragon boats possibly, rowing gigs hopefully. The Puyallup tribe is committed to the event. They'll bring their cedar canoes, perform a welcoming ceremony, and then take part in the race. The number of Native American participants is unknown at this point. They are proposing from 100 plus competitors and 200 plus spectators. And of that, 30% of those will travel more than 50 miles or 2 hours away from Gig Harbor. And of people staying overnight in paid accommodations, that will be over 30 room nights. And this is something that has not applied for LTAC funds previously. And their numbers are based on the open water races that have been held and the success of Paddlers Cup in years past. All right, I've sent a text to Alan just to see if he can join us. Hey, there he is. I think there might be a post-it over your camera.
Oh, is that right? Oh, look at you. How about that?
There you go.
I thought it was someone else. He just was going to use that voice.
Am I visible?
Yep.
Yes, you are.
I'm not on my screen. How do I look? Oh, there it is.
Great. There.
Okay. Do you want me to do a little...
Tell us a little bit about the event. I know this is a new event for this year that you've come up with.
Okay, well, yeah. And what else?
Just a little bit of background on where your target audience is, and how you see this developing.
Okay. Well, I had a question first. You know, when I discovered this lodging tax initiative, it said that it was the first time ever, and I got all excited, and I talked to a number of members of the Downtown Waterfront Alliance, and got them all excited. Well, they were wondering while I was excited, but evidently the city does this every year.
This is the first time we've done it in the spring.
Ah, the first time we've done it in the spring. I get it now. All right. So I did get excited, and I talked to the hotels and restaurant owners and whatnot. And so that answers that for me. I would, the Paddler's Cup, I would have thought we would have engaged with you before just regarding the Paddler's Cup. For those who don't know, the Paddler's Cup we've had for 8 or 9 years. We missed the last 2 years, but that brings several hundred people in, all the dragon boaters and racers from all over the place. And I wish I would have known about this. This would have been helpful. But the initiative behind designing this open water race in the fall was frankly to give back to the business community, because the business community has been very supportive of us and our Paddler's Cup every year. And so when I saw this, I saw potential to give back through hotel stays and restaurant gift certificates. And I have a question about that. About prizes and gifts. I understand that can't use this for prizes and gifts, which seems a little contrary. What I was proposing was.
Hey, Alan, yeah. let me interrupt you for a second. This is John Moist. I'm looking at the RCW right now, and I apologize. I misread this thing. Let me read this to you. Number 5, it says tourism means economic activity resulting from tourists, which may include sales of overnight lodging, meals, tours, gifts, or souvenirs. So yeah, I misread that when I was scanning it the first time. I've gone back and looked at it again, and it doesn't say anything about that. So I apologize to the group. My first bust.
Oh, okay. No, that's good. I just want to attract these people to this race by giving out good gifts from the different businesses, and it just seems like a really nice solution to me. Why would a lot of people want to race in the Narrows? For those that know the challenge that we've had at the Paddler's Cup the last few years, Chief Busey won't allow us to go outside the harbor if there's stormcraft warnings. It's in the city charter, evidently. And so I've talked to Chief Busey about this, and he says if you start outside the harbor, you can go anywhere you want. Well, there's people that travel from all over the Northwest to take on challenges like this with their open water racing boats. That's why this will work. The museum had an event called the Heritage Row many years ago that was very successful to depict how people used to do commerce and recreation, going over to Tacoma and back. And that was a lot of fun. I did that race the 2 years they had it. And that was before I started the team. Anyway, this opens up the Narrows to us, and it'll bring in a lot of people, and it's a way to give back to the community. And that's what we like to do in this case. I'll take any, let's see. Oh, here's another thing. Here's another good thing about this thing. We had to cancel Paddler's Cup again this year. This is the second year we had to cancel because we just can't commit to getting that many people together in this COVID climate. This particular race is designed to, you show up at the starting line when your wave is ready to go. You launch at one of 4 different launching areas. You go, you come back to a private place where we, Gig Harbor Marina, where we will give you your award, your dinner certificates, and you go about your business of enjoying Gig Harbor. There'll be no group meetings. spread out on the water, of course, is very good. So I don't feel like there's a risk of having to cancel this if we go back to phase 2 or phase 1, even if that comes to play. One other question I had was that the way I read the application, it sounds like if we need to keep good records, and that's why I've engaged with all the hotels, or 4 of them anyway so far, so that we can record how many heads and beds there are, and I can find out how many people went to dinner at different restaurants and shopped at different businesses, and show how the money was spent, and then you reimburse, or is there a chance to get some of the money up front? I don't know.
You reimburse.
Okay. All right. So I got to be good about my record keeping.
Yeah, because as we had pointed out, there is flexibility in it, but we want to make sure that, you know, the money was used. Sometimes, like with COVID, some people were a little more general, and so they were actually allowed to use the money for other things. But then it's good for this group to see, they ask for the money the following year, it's good for us to see how it was used.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And you know, with the city, it has to be reimbursed.
Yeah, okay. Well, this can work. What kind of questions do you have for me?
You show expenses of just over 10,000, but you're asking for 20.
No, I have my budget at 10,000. I didn't ask for 20 anywhere, did I?
I thought the top of the application was 20.
No.
Okay.
I don't have that. No, I don't have that anywhere.
It says lodging. Let's see. Okay.
No. No, just the 10.5, and even that is some approximations on something. We might not do the live stream. That's $2,500.
Okay. The second line on the application says, and it says lodging tax funds requested 20,000.
My form says 10,000. This is under the budget I sent you. Does somebody have a different figure than the mayor? I don't know where the 20 is coming from, honestly. I'm sorry.
Ellen, we have the application up on the screen here, and it looks like the second line on the Word doc or the PDF that you submitted on the very first page says 20, but 10.5 is the total that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And amend that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What, we can go through that, but I didn't want $20,000 now.
Okay, well, that's good clarity, because it's on the very top page of your application. Second line.
Very front page, huh?
Yeah, Laura, can you go back just to show him?
Yeah, please. The Narrows Challenge.
It says 2021 City of Gig Harbor Lodging Tax Fund application. Lodging tax funds requested 20,000.
Wow, that's weird. No, that's not me. That must have been written on the form or something. I don't know. I didn't do that. If I did, I'm sorry.
You're not the only person that's asked for more than it was costing. So okay. So you're asking for the bottom, which was 10,510.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Other questions by the group? So Laura, will you change that?
I can, yes.
And you're okay with that change, Alan, correct?
10.5. Yeah.
Go ahead, Ginny.
So Alan, I guess a little bit of my concern is that this would be 100% funded by this lodging tax committee. Is there any way you can charge participants an entrance fee or something?
Oh, yeah, we're charging a very low entrance fee at $35, and yes, we are, and we would like to use that money. We're starting our master's program. We'd like to use that money to kick our adult paddling program into gear. And so, which is kind of another good thing for the community, I think. But is that Sean making a profit out of this? And we're not trying to make a big profit. If we wanted to make a profit, I could go out and get restaurants to sponsor this and everything. But we were, we are charging an entry fee.
So it looks like with the entry fee, your expenses are just over 7,000.
Yeah, I don't, the entry fees aren't even listed on here.
They says 3,500.
Oh, registration fees, 3,500. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But what you're saying is that those fees would be used to fund something else.
Yeah, those fees would belong to us for putting on the thing and to launch our master's program. That's all. Yes.
Okay. And so you haven't actively gone out and sought sponsorships or anything else, or asked for donations for this?
No, we did not want to dilute. We do that for our Paddlers Cup, and that's a whole separate thing. This is totally intended, and I'm happy to sit down and talk to somebody about this, but it's totally intended to give back to the community. So we could go out and get sponsors, and yet I just thought this was a perfect fit for this fund when I read about it. So
no question. You have almost tried to do this in past years. Is that correct?
I've never applied for this fund. Did not know it existed.
Right, but you've tried to do the Narrows Challenge in past years, correct?
We've tried to do the Narrows Challenge as part of Paddlers Cup, but because we use city parks and city parks for the Paddlers Cup, we use Scansey Park, or we use Ansich Park, or Eden Park. We're not allowed to go outside the harbor.
Right. So
yes.
Majority of the money or almost all the money you're asking is without other sponsors. How were you hoping to have funded this in the past when you were going to do it?
Well, we could just have it funded by the entries. I could very simply just have people come from all over the Northwest and do this race, give them their award, and send them home. The things I really want is that Pacific Motorsports, the registration, the GPS tracking just for safety. I can eliminate prize money. I can eliminate gifts. I can downsize my race buoys. I can go. I can really, really simplify this race, but it's the potential is for it to be a big event, and I would like to encourage this group to get behind it. I can simplify it, and but then there would be no motivation for me to try to work with the businesses. If you understand what I'm saying, I'm not trying to be cruel or anything. I'm just trying to get some support.
Great. Well, thank you for that clarity.
Yep.
Questions from other LTAC members?
Hey, Ellen, this is Stephanie from the museum.
Yes.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
I do have a couple questions for you, because obviously October is not always the most perfect weather month.
Yeah.
And I know that you've mentioned in your application that most of these participants would be adults that do open water racing kind of as a usual thing. So it's not really considered something that your average rower would probably take part in. Is that correct?
Good question. No, so all of my kids, the kids that are on the team, for instance, won't be allowed to go outside the harbor in their sprint boats. So unless we team up with the Puyallup tribe and some of their canoes, or maybe a dragon boat or some outriggers, they're not going to be allowed. These are hardy folks that travel the Northwest looking for open water challenges. There's a lot of them. So and they're mostly adults. So this is an adult race, not a kids race.
Got it. And you'll do it right when the tides are changing, so that's really, really hard to get across. Just kidding.
Yeah, well, no, the race course is going straight to the Narrows Bridge and under it.
Oh, really?
And it's during a strong incoming tide, and it's a strategic race and how you return to the harbor.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I listed it here. I have 8 to 10 safety boats, so we've got that covered. But it is not an easy race.
No.
But this is for people that like to challenge themselves. But there is a short course that stays along the shoreline, the Point Evans, just short of Point Evans and back. It's a 5-mile race, but still, it's taking on an incoming tide. You and Stephanie, you know your history. The Puyallup tribe called the Narrows their freeway, and the school was recently named Swiftwater. They're very excited to be part of this event, so it's kind of a fun deal. They call the Narrows their freeway. Well, we're going when the freeway is at full speed.
Does this have to be like licensed or anything by the Coast Guard?
Yeah, and insured.
Yeah. We're going to be insured through the American Canoe Association. All entries will be, and then we'll have Coast Guard approval. We're working on that now. It's not that difficult.
So Alan, I noticed you don't have insurance built into your budget. What is the umbrella organization that this is underneath? What is it?
It's called the American Canoe Association, ACA.
Okay.
And that's part of their $35 entry fee will cover, I think it's $10 day of race waiver or insurance for under the ACA. Yeah, we're just making that part of their registration fee. Make sense?
Great. Yeah.
I'm not the race director. You know me, I just stand behind the scenes, but I am the idea guy. And the race director's name is Todd. And if any of you have some more specific questions about this, I urge you to get together with him and me another time if you'd like. I think this is kind of a preliminary thing, isn't it? Sort of.
Alan, do you have a time of day that this event happens?
Yes. So the race is going to happen at 2 o'clock on the 16th.
Okay.
And but we're going to have the Puyallup tribe is going to be doing a welcoming celebration. Let's say that's going to be around noon. The Puyallup tribe, when they used to visit village to village, they would take their canoes out in front of the village. They come to the village and they circle around and make a circle out in front of the village to show it's peaceful. That's what they're going to do for us, and chant and sing. And that's how we're going to launch our race. That will probably happen down in the Austin estuary area where the tribe has been recognized recently. I happen to be writing a book about Native Americans from 200 years ago in this area. And so this really interests me. That's why I brought the tribe in on this. So thought I'd throw that in.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for Alan? Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, that concludes. So I came up with, now that that's at 20,000, I came up with around 78,000 of so
last.
Yeah, so so I came up with about 78,250, maybe a hair less. Again, Kennerwoods might have done the same thing. Kennerwood showed $20,000, I believe, and yet they were asking for 10, yet their budget was 10. So if we put that back to 10, they were looking at 68,250 around there. So
yeah, it's 68,760 is the total request amount.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so any comments overall before we pretty much start back at the top?
Well, I actually looked at everything sort of globally and was able to kind of get a better sense of what might work for each of these different things if we were to fund every one of them. I did have some questions about whether applicants get disqualified by not having certain attachments. I don't know how strict we want to be, but I certainly know when I'm applying for other grants, if you don't have all of your materials together, you are automatically disqualified. I don't think we've done that in the past in this particular program, but I do think it's something worth looking at. I'd also add that I also calculated the cost per service based on the numbers of people that were anticipated being served. And they range from $138 per person at the high end for the golf tournament and $105 to $35, depending on how many people are involved with the Narrows Challenge, down to $1.38 for the boat shop tour program. So it's a wide range, but generally speaking, your high ends are really high and your low end is pretty low. So I don't know if you want to look at numbers of people served and cost per person, if that's a consideration or not.
Should we maybe talk about Kennerwood? Do we think that Kennerwood even falls into any of the parameters?
Not as written. And I would say I've been considering this since we've started looking at it. And I do think that it would maybe be appropriate to recommend that there's $1,000 toward the marketing and promotion of downtown businesses and all of the materials that go into, because they are doing a great job promoting their visitors, getting out and spending time and money in town. And I think that may be more appropriate, especially for their first application. That just ran through my mind. We don't necessarily.
Can I make a motion to do just that? Because otherwise I was going to say, let's wait until they have more, better information next year or something. But just in the essence of time, again, because I'm going back and forth trying to stay on for the vote, I would like to make a motion that we do just the $1,000 to Kennerwood this time. So
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay. There's a motion. There's a motion for $1,000 for Kennerwood. There's a second. All those in favor say aye, or raise your hand too. Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I didn't quite get who seconded on there. That.
Janae. Opposed?
Is it possible for us to give them feedback that says kind of why we made that decision? Okay.
I was going to bring that up right after we did it. So
because I do think it's a really cool thing, and I do also like the fact that they are trying to promote the rest of Gig Harbor. I think that's a great thing, and I wouldn't want to dissuade them from potentially applying in the future.
Okay, so abstain. Okay, so that was unanimous. $1,000, and yes, we need to encourage people to vote. So a couple things. One, they didn't have an actual expense overall. Is that correct?
No, they did have an overall expense. I think they had budgeted something like around 10.5. But
so the feedback from the group that we can give them
is that we'd like to see future applications more well-rounded, proof of nonprofit status, and a direct correlation between tourism development and then the cost. So something like a food and alcohol beverage budget would not be appropriate. Correct?
Is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Question: does the group want to, if Laura sends a letter to them, does the group want to see what that, what those things for the future for them to know? Do they want to see that ahead of time, or just let her do that?
I think personally, let her do that. That's not right. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Stephanie, did you have, you know, I'm not necessarily for funding to the whole group, the whole fund, you know, the whole, everyone's budget. If their budget is 10,000, funded for 10,000, I think they should come up with some other ways. But you said you had some mechanism that you came up with of a way of splitting this out. Do you want to share that?
Well, sure. Yeah, basically, when I did the cost per person per service, it's really just whatever they anticipated their attendance numbers to be by the amount that they were requesting. And so, for example, just taking the Community Foundation, they're anticipating their event will serve 1,500 people. They're asking for $5,000. So it's $3.33 per person that the fund would supply. That's not their entire budget, obviously. It's only, in their request, it's 15% of their event budget. So I think that that's a very fair ask, honestly, from the Cider Swig.
I move that we give them $5,000.
I second that.
All in favor?
Sorry, I didn't quite see who.
That's money well spent. That's a great event.
Again, who is the, I'm sorry, who is the motion?
Oh,
Janae.
Janae, and Mary was the second. All those in favor, or actually discussion? Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for saying on, Sue. Sue, we're trying to get through this. Okay, 5,000, great. History Museum, let's do the same thing. Stephanie, did you have numbers on that?
Yes. So the 20,000 is 5.5% of the overall operating budget. It's 16% of the event budget, so to speak. And then that's anticipated numbers for the whole year of 8,000 people at $2.50 per person.
Okay. Okay, and you're gonna have to exclude yourself, as you know.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, all right. Does someone have a motion they'd like to put forward?
I'd like to make a motion that we do 15,000 for the museum. I've kind of been figuring out what we could do for the rest to make that even, and that would be my motion, 15,000 for the museum.
Okay, I'll second that.
I'm so sorry, I didn't quite get, I've got a Word document up here while I take notes on this. Who motioned?
Stephanie motioned. I'm sorry, Sue motioned.
Stephanie, you can't motion.
I know.
Not motioning.
I second it. Discussion?
Can I just say one thing? So Steph, this money will be used throughout, not just 2021, but partly into 2022, right? So you could potentially apply for some more for 2022, right?
In theory, yeah.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes for 15,000. Since you're a member, I'll say congratulations to you. So, United by Music. Stephanie, your numbers?
Probably can't hear me with the mute on, right? Okay, United by Music is asking for $9,750. That is 49% of their project budget or the event budget, serving 500 to 1,000 people in the ballpark of $19.50 to $9.75 per person.
Okay. All right.
I just would like to suggest maybe 5,000 to them. So that's just, I can make a motion if.
Or maybe Sue, maybe 7,000 to them?
Maybe?
I would support that more than 5.
Okay, sure. I'll make a motion for 7,000 to the United Music.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
Sorry, who seconded there? Janae, did you second?
Janae, any discussion? All those in favor say aye and raise your hand. It's just hard to hear all the ayes.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. 7,000. Boat shop. Stephanie.
Okay, the boat shop, based on their overall numbers, the 5,400 visitors, they are asking for 7,500. That's 0.18% of their project budget. And that comes out to $1.38 per person, although those numbers are not quite right based on the additional discussion this evening. So it probably comes up to about $5 per person in the tour program.
Okay.
I move that we give them $6,000.
Okay. I'll second that. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. 6,000. Was it 6,000?
6,000.
Okay.
So sorry, I'm typing as we go. I didn't see who motioned and who seconded there.
I gave the motion. Janae gave the motion.
Thank you, Janae.
I seconded.
Thank you, Mayor. Motion passed. All right.
So if we were going to give, if the Narrows Challenge only asked for 10,500, what's that leaving us at this point left if the Art League is the only one that's left?
Right.
You could fund if you gave the full funding to the Peninsula Art League, you could fund the kayak program, or the Narrows Challenge at 10,000 and be at a total of 50.
Because we have 15,000 left. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right.
My suggestion is giving the Narrows Challenge the full 10,500 and then the Art League $500 less than that they were asking for. Does that add up to the correct 50?
That you're saying 5,000 for Peninsula Art League?
5,000 for Peninsula Art League.
Then you give 10,000, $500 shy, which is to the Narrows.
See, I personally, and this is just me, but I really have a problem doing full funding for an event when we're so particular about only funding partials for so many others. And that is the one event that's asked for 100% of their project budget from this program. I'm not saying we can't do it. I'm just saying that when we have criteria for others, that the highest percentage we've funded so far is 56% of a project budget. Yeah, are you willing to go to 100% of a project budget, or at least 99.9% at a slight reduction? So for me, I have issues with that. That's just my way of thinking.
And I personally don't have a problem with that for this of the draw. I think it's going to be and that type of thing. But
we do get business from that event.
Yeah, a lot. So I would like to make a motion that we do the, let's see, would that be the Art League, the 5,000?
So just one moment, because Janae had her hand up before.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think it was Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny, did you have?
So whenever I had to apply for grants from any organization, I had to be able to prove sustainability of the event. And I don't know, Mary, you and Stephanie, you may not have had that issue, but I have a little bit of an issue funding the first year fully of an event like this without having, and I think what was their night stay was 30 people, something like that. It's not a huge amount. That's just my opinion based on what I've had to do in the past, but I wouldn't stand in the way of it. I just would express that.
For me, it's not just the overnight stays on this one. Is this not the Paddlers Club? Is that Paddlers Club totally separate? Am I misunderstanding then? Because I'm
correct. It is separate.
New event.
It's a brand new event that's never been done before.
Great. Yeah, but I believe the number of people and the native, I personally liked that's being a part a part of it. So I would not have a problem, but that's just my opinion. Okay.
Yeah, this is John Moist. I think from the historic standpoint, I mean, this is a historic look back on a tradition that was, hundreds of years old. I think, and Alan is always, I've dealt with him and the kayak club for many years now, and they've always delivered on their promises. I think this sounds like a even though it doesn't involve kids and it takes it outside of the harbor, under the bridge. I think this is sounds like a great event.
So again, can I just be real clear? If we give the Art League the 5,000, then that only leaves 10,000 left for the Narrows Challenge, or does it leave the full 10,500?
10,000.
10,000. Okay. I move that we give the Narrows Challenge 10,000.
And I'll second that.
Okay, discussion, which we've had some, but is there more discussion? Okay, and people can do just going to, in the future, there can be amendments to people's motions too. Okay, so we have a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Okay, motion passes for 10,000. I do, I understand. I would hope to, and even though I was supportive of that, I agree with Stephanie a little, and I have a little troubles funding 100% of projects. I do. And so even though I was supportive, I was hesitant because I think it sets a bad precedence, and it's good for people to realize that they have to come up with some of the money themselves in other ways too. So I hope we do. You're right. Many people others are concerned about this too. So we have to be watchful of that. Okay, so we're at POW. So I have a motion, who was the one that wanted 5? Was it Janae?
I move that we give the Art League 5,000.
Okay. Sue, did you second that?
Did.
Okay, discussion.
Sorry, who motioned?
Janae motioned.
Oh, wonderful, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
James, you opposed? No. Okay. I thought I heard it.
No.
Okay. All those were in favor. Abstain, I think we all said. Great. Okay, we funded it completely. Now they do have to turn in the receipts, and then they get reimbursed. So in the event that the project doesn't happen, they won't get the money unless they're able to do something like we have in the past with the Zoom, or something to an extent of it possible. So thank you all very much. I'm not going to cut off yet, but I appreciate all your hard work. I think we went through this very, very well. So I appreciate your hard work.
Yes, thank you all.
Yeah, just to wrap up real quick, was there any I don't have the agenda up here let's see.
Just a couple of follow-up items, and these are just housekeeping items too. We have our contracts out for all the confirmed 2021 LTAC funds for Harbor Wild Watch and Downtown Waterfront Alliance are received and countersigned. We'll get contracts out for, well, after City Council approval, we'll get contracts out for these remainders. On city events, we are in motion for permitting on Summer Sounds at Scansy and Movies in the Park. We will, of course, be contracting those with the caveat that we may roll back in a phase, we may go forward, but we're planning for the best. We have a schedule of 6 bands so far out of 8 slots, and we're working on the 2 remainders this week. So, and working on the movies as well. for a rack card production, which I know was a big ask as well. We're in contact with Cascade Print Media on a negotiated rate for vendor partner cards. That is TBD. I've just gone through all of our past vendor partner cards that we've had here at the city, and I will be making outreach on those. And then also I'm always very open to suggestions for new vendors that we'd like to reach out to. So please do send those my way. And then just another call as well for spring short lead travel media pitches. If there are things happening that you see or think that would make a great package, whether they be something like the Gig Harbor Fly Shops guided tour, and we can put that together into a hotel package, that would be amazing. Let me know, and we can get that out as part of our digital marketing campaign. So those are all your housekeeping notes. Back to you, Mayor.
Okay. Stephanie had her hand raised. Are you still, do you have a question, Stephanie? I don't see where she is, but maybe just, oh, okay. Yes, John.
Yeah, I've got a couple things. Is Warren still with us?
Yes.
Do we have a firm date for the gig now?
Yes. It's I think it's August 23rd, John. Let me check. Let me just
21st is Saturday.
21st and 22nd.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
21st and 22nd.
Yeah.
Okay. And the blessing is going to take place this year. I'm pretty positive it's going to be that first Sunday in June. And it's not going to be advertised. It's going to be, I don't want to use the word private event because it's not private at all. Anybody can attend. It'll be publicized through St. Nick's Church, but the powers to be, the priest and the knights have agreed to that they want to go through with the blessing this year, regardless of COVID. So that'll be taking place. If it's any different from that first week, that first Sunday in June, I'll let you know almost immediately.
Thank you, John. Let us know what we as the city can do to help out. Obviously with our police to block off or do whatever you need. Are they planning to walk down the street and such?
Yes, that's right now. That looks like the plan.
Okay.
And that would be great if. Are you thinking requiring permits for this or not?
I don't know. I think I had talked to planning. I don't think we need permits for this, but why don't you and I talk, within the next week and kind of work through those logistics.
All right. Thanks, Kit.
Sure. And Warren, you would have done it before, but now that you're part of this group too, anything that's coming up with the chamber, please, by all means, let us know.
Sure. Yeah, I will. Most of the events that we have coming up right now are all member oriented, but I'll keep you posted.
Great. And Laura, if you can, I guess, I think moving forward, the History Museum too, and everything, but I think we should have maybe a little bit of a, 5 minutes from Mary and 5 minutes from Warren, letting us know what the Waterfront Alliance and what the chamber is doing, because they've got lots of things going on, and anyone too, like Stephanie as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we need to hear from those groups. Great. I do know that we've got some road projects that are a pain in the. Let's just say it's a real pain. So we apologize for that. There's no good time. It's not going to get. It was a tough one to figure out because we could have done alternating flagging, but it would have taken like about another 11 days to do that. So we chose not to do that because so we're doing the best we can. So
I want to say thank you to Public Works. They put up an additional sign, one of your electric signs that says business is open as you're coming in from the museum. So thank you for that. I know we've been hearing from businesses that their customers can't get to them. So
Right.
You know, those of us that work downtown sleep at night.
You know, yeah. So any suggestions? We're trying. We did have Kelly down there flagging people through, but then they never stopped. So they kept having so many cars. So we're doing what we can. So anyway, we'll try to keep you updated or look at the city site. We're posting different things about the YMCA, about upcoming road projects. We are hoping to do 8 concerts this summer and 7 movies. So trying to work hard on that. So great. Did you talk about rack card production, Laura?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments from the group?
I just wanted to say we were on so long, my computer died and I had to plug it in. So that's why I came back again.
Okay, I called on you because your hand was up.
Like, I can't talk to you.
Do you have another question?
No, I'm good. I just wasn't sure because you were right in the middle of the Peninsula Art League grant and the Narrows Challenge grant, and I wasn't sure what those last numbers were, but I'm pretty sure it all adds up to 50,000. So
yeah,
that's good.
Thank you for that. And we're going to definitely get our grants out for 2022 way earlier than we did last year. We should be
August, correct? Or
yeah,
prior, no.
I would say early August. So and we'll work hard to get that out so everyone does recognize that too.
Yeah, I would also like to make a request that at the next meeting we can look at the fund budget and if there was any forecasting so that we have a good idea of what's actually in the fund for the upcoming year.
Right, and some of that's going to get, we get our funds delayed from the state a bit, and so I think we're still trying to analyze how much of a hit we took.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Yeah,
it's helpful to know.
Yeah. And, we don't know exactly how much, but, we expect with the federal program, we're going to be getting some money for the city too, which will reimburse some of us, but we also help to help others as well.
That is always good.
Yeah. Always good.
Good. Well, thank you all. I think I'm just really happy to have a full boat, and I think we're doing a great job, and appreciate all of your time that you're spending, helping us all.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate your time. I know this was the longest one of the year. So.
Yeah. Well, it's fun to have Warren and John and James on board here too. So thanks, guys, for being here.
Yeah.
And joining the fun. Yeah.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you folks.
Okay. All right.
I was just going to say thanks for.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, James. Okay. I think all those in favor of adjourning.
Aye.
All right. We're adjourned. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.